Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Fallout New Vegas. Although, in this DLC, it kind of feels very more like you're playing something completely different. So we came down here for this school bus, and I kind of feel like the Crash Scout bus should have just led to us being down in this lower area of this. I'm calling it a mesa. I think it's a mesa. Very tall area. Regardless. And yep. Frame rate still feels very wonky. I might want to exit out again, particularly since I've had the game paused for a few hours. Between now and the last recording, I feel like maybe there's just a little too much textures, and this is just a very unoptimized area. And I guess the question to ask certainly would be, is there like some display setting that I perhaps should change? It would almost certainly have to just be like object fade. That would be my guess as far as just what you would change. The game has worked perfectly well enough in every other section, but there is just a lot of stuff here, whereas Mojave itself is very much obviously a big flat empty world with very little on it, and there occasionally we would see a... Is my guy even following me? My companion's not following me. Interesting. We have a ranger substation here. If I can figure out how to get up to it. I think a lot of this is just going to be challenges. Of course, I could just fast travel to it and cheat. And there's nothing in this DLC that's stopping that. Which this DLC already did introduce this idea of there being a compass module you need to even locate which way to go. And so with that idea, they could have potentially reset the player a little bit more so that they were starting over from scratch. But that doesn't really work with the... it really doesn't work with the role-playing nature of the Fallout games in general. It's just... It would be too much to, for instance, take the Pip-Boy away and just have the player not be able to go into this menu and take all their weapons away and all their skills and have them start all over again. If you were going to do that, you would have just made this a standalone spin-off Fallout game, which at that point it just increasingly is not worth it to call this a Fallout game. Yeah. In fact, there's a lot of room to tell a story of a post-apocalyptic future where the American citizens who have survived have reverted to a more Native American tribalism situation. We see all these hands, and there's a lot of just like fear amongst the local tribes to not go. Here we have a new Zion National Park yeah, they won't go anywhere where the hand marks are, although obviously they were willing to go close enough to the hand, to the... Why does this not say empty? Interesting. They're willing to go close enough to put the hand marks. And maybe that is some kind of rite of passage. Are you brave enough to go and touch the outside of this? And they say that there's ghosts or angry spirits, and I don't know what the angry spirits could be other than at best like maybe radio signals or maybe robots. At a certain level, it would kind of make sense. I have a new perk now that will let me use bent cans, I think, to probably just make nails or lead, but it at least makes bent cans useful now. It would make a lot of sense to me that these ranger stations would have been manned by iBots or Securitrons. The idea of a ranger station in the real world is that you'd have a human that could look around and see if there's any fires or tornadoes or hurricanes, things like that. Keep a general eye out in an area that traditionally wouldn't have access to grid power and wouldn't have access to communication technology other than radio communication, which, yeah, long range radio. But the technology in the Fallout universe doesn't really follow any of that. For a second there I thought the wall disappeared and or a wall appeared. Alright. And so as this goes, I guess we're just going to walk in this general direction. If I fall, I just need to minimize the falling. Like, we want to get there. The game, possibly on higher difficulty levels, would do more fall damage. But if you just save scum, make a safety save, I imagine even on the highest difficulty levels, you can fall taking minimal damage. Which, yeah, I would guess there probably is a thought here where you should either take much higher fall damage, or even the smallest of falls, to the point where it'd get ridiculous, or they would have to intentionally create it so that most of these walls are very smooth and you can't lean against them. But yeah, here we are at this campground, and this is going to be a small point where it's going to reference the society of Fallout pre-war. And then that's it. Here we have a bedroll, but it's not like the bedrolls that you can pick up and use. You can sleep here. Little sleep mechanic still doesn't really make any sense to me. And I think I'm ready to finally say, even though this is an Obsidian game, this definitely feels like it. Well, I think the main game was probably made by Obsidian, and I wouldn't be surprised if all 4 of the DLCs were made by different teams. I cannot get that. All of them, though, I feel like have been hamstrung by just the existing way Fallout 3 and Skyrim games have been and Skyrim have been designed. The massive reception and success of Skyrim in particular, I think, interesting how that was just stalking. White leg mongrel. Are the white legs wolves? Well, the sworn white legs were human tribe. Interesting. I guess it would make more sense if... No, the white legs have to be a human tribe. The way they were talked about and described. Yeah, we have a white leg bone breaker. That answers that question. Actually, there really shouldn't have been a question there anyways. We bought white legs when we first entered this DLC. But yeah, I feel like Obsidian and anybody else who made any of these DLCs, any third-party unnamed developers, were hamstrung by the success and the way Skyrim games and Bethesda games in general wanted to be made. This one also doesn't say empty. Interesting. So we've just lost that very helpful marker. Here we have a white legs lightbringer, seemingly firing some kind of flare gun. And she said something interesting, different style of underwear they've developed here to highlight just how little clothing the white legs are wearing. Yeah, a modern game, let's just talk about that, might go risky, and like Baldur's Gate 3 has just straight up nudity in the character creator. It wouldn't be insane for you to take the clothing off of characters and they just be nude in a new Bethesda game, new Fallout game. And then what you would do is you would just warn the player at the very beginning, do you want this blurred and censored? If so, then you would put maybe just a solid black bar or solid black clothing around them. Console games at this point are not really super upset with nudity. Nintendo, surprisingly more okay with it than PlayStation. For a rated M for mature, it's really the ESRB and that is falling behind what the evolved standard has become. And inherently nowadays when you start a new game you need a streamer mode anyways, and so it's streamers. Hey, we can see the rain actually falling this time. And the frame rate doesn't feel like it's dropping like crazy, so maybe the rain effect just screwed up before and that was causing the frame drops. Some of the frame drops, not all of them. Might as well just go and check this ant burrow too. Inherently, if you did strip the characters and they were just naked, you would get a lot of unimpressive. Interesting, the knife is just hanging there. You would get a lot of unimpressive poses and unimpressive visuals. You definitely wouldn't find it particularly that glamorous. it would just feel fairly natural. And yeah, I am more leaning towards the thought that if there wasn't such a exotification of nudity in all forms of media in the United States in particular, then there wouldn't be this default assumption that all nudity is sexualized nudity, and then people would just get over themselves in their overreacting. That's what I would call it. So there's something somewhere here. Is it just this big tree? My gun is strong enough now that we're finally at like one-hit kills. That just hit me. Somebody just throw a spear at me? I think they did. I'm gonna become over encumbered pretty quickly here. And see, I killed this young gecko, and then it seemed like this mole rat, which is bigger than the gecko, I'm a little surprised by that, was trying to carry off the body. One would assume to eat it. Which, that's an interesting thought. Okay, ant burrow. Is that it? Is it just this section here? No ants to be seen at all? Here we see a giant worker ant. Interesting. This definitely does feel like this is an area. Let's see if there's anything on the local map that would help, where you are just going to end up running into a lot of these sections. Maybe we'll do something with it later. Or maybe we'll find out the brock flowers always grow near ant burrows in this area. I don't think that would be the case anywhere else. Or maybe I'm just playing at a very easy level, and that just creates a situation where you're I don't know what Dark Dakura does. Yeah, maybe playing on an easy level does just cause the entirety of the world to have dead enemies spawn instead of live enemies. That would be a weird way to make something easier. It's to just have corpses. At a certain level, I guess it does kind of make some sense for the world to be covered in corpses in a post-apocalypse. Just a world that is always getting irradiated, enemies always dying, always taking damage. Just an incredibly oppressive environment. I don't know why we would want that, and that's what was implied storyline wise. In the Lonesome Road DLC, but wasn't actually the way it felt. So we know what the Sacred Takura root looks like. It's like these little white flowers. And here we have a pre-bomb bridge. So I'm a little woozy. Snake bite tourniquet used to remove the wooziness. Poison removed because of the snake bite tourniquet. What you would expect here is that these enemies would be stronger. But I can't help but wonder if they are just scaled to my level because I reset my level, which I still don't really regret. Yeah. Alright, UI Cave. This does feel like this easily could be a shorter experience. Make sure the flashlight's on. It's kind of hard to tell on my main monitor because the brightness is already turned up fairly high. I guess we still want to collect cave fungus? Yeah. So what I'm thinking is the Bethesda way of designing really is just a great system to make game objects, game content, but a terrible system to actually make interactive, entertaining experiences, or just game, as you might just describe it that way. Because clearly there is...
That compass thing always knows where north is, huh? Even if it can't see the stars?
You may get annoying fairly quickly. Having a whole bunch of items is great, but then having nothing to do with that whole bunch of items is just stupid. Having to get a whole bunch of perks to then correct the mistake of the game by default having way too many items is dumb. And it's not like it's a polished experience where even with a walkthrough you could take all the right perks and do all the right things. See, I think there are really just 10 Yogwais in the whole area. Yeah, the achievement here is to kill 10 Yogwais. Maybe that achievement challenge then just increases. But Yogwais are supposed to be the abominations of what bears once were. It's funny they have such a weird different name to them. Just look around this room and see if we've missed anything. See a lot of piles of bones and mess. But I actually don't see any flowers. And see, that concerns me a little, because that might mean that there is a way that I could have jumped down from over here from a different spot, but then there's a wall blocking me. There's a couple of thoughts certainly to have as far as this is the longest place we ever swam, and it definitely shows how the swimming mechanic in this game is not going to visually look too interesting. It seems like you're mostly trying to just collect cave fungus. Yeah, one of the ways you could...
Salt upon wounds butchered everyone in New Canaan.
Yeah, see, here's another area that's just being blocked off. Which makes me wonder if there aren't just always going to be areas that are blocked off like that, or if there is some ability I'm going to unlock. Several cave entrances, it looks like here. Theoretically, they could be cave entrances for at least a Yagwai. Yeah, suffice it to say though, there's not really a lot happening. The weather system here is, in my mind, exactly like the day-night cycle in the main game. It's just something that doesn't really need to exist. I would easily give up the rain for just more polished, more interesting encounters. Like that whole cave in a different game could have been a very large dungeon that could have taken a good 30 minutes to an hour to investigate and fight your way through. I don't even know who he's shooting at. But yeah, I need to go around this rock. Does seem like there's an attempt here to make the game more of a stay on the road type experience. Yeah. Playing on very easy, leaving the road was never particularly dangerous. Here, you leaving the road just means calling up a bunch of rocks. And certainly, if they had figured out a way to have a little bit more of this design instead of mostly flat, open areas.
Why? Out where you come from, huh?
This does feel like this is a good area if you were just trying to... there is something up there, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get up there. If you're just trying to get more cooking ingredients, or if you were just trying to fight more animals, which animals tend to give you more cooking ingredients. Okay, I'm seeing a rock that would go over there. So with these walls, you do have just firing wildly in this direction. It's just, it's not a game where you really have enough bullets to do that kind of cover fire. At a certain level, if you are going to use the console command to reset yourself back to level 1, I don't know if the system of only getting a perk every 10 makes a lot of sense at that point. You might be better off cheating and just either giving yourself all the perks, which would take probably a mod, because you'd have to type in all the specific console command IDs for each of the perks, which you'd have to follow a guide to do. Or you could maybe simplify it by just setting yourself to like level 50 multiple times and just seeing if that triggers the ability to select the perk. But doing it the way I'm doing it does open the idea that you could just play your main save file here a third or fourth time through and just wander around in the open world.
So I finally get to explore all those taboo places without...
The rain just abruptly stopped. That was very abrupt. It doesn't seem like you get up there from that point. And I'm still expecting to I'm expecting to become over encumbered. We could look at our items and see if we can do something. 45 versus this 9. 9 is worth 41. 45 is worth a lot more. This one's brass knuckles, cattle prod. You don't get cattle prods too often. Cleaver and cleaver. Cleaver is worth only 8. Cattle prod is worth 93. Brass knuckles is worth 25. So we will fix that. And then the knife is really only used for weapon bindings ritual, so I think we shouldn't really hold on to that. And I'm almost certainly never going to get the right kinds of weapons. We're getting a lot of shovels. Then we have just like, I assume the white leg hide armor is way more valuable than the dirty pre-war business wear at even 175 for a white legs outfit. We'll get rid of that one and that one. 150 there. Of course, that's not what I'm picking up most of. So I thought there was a small chance, it probably wasn't ever going to be the case, that we were going to find either buildings that or very big or big dungeons. It doesn't feel like that's a possibility here.
Like the shadow of a ghost.
Or there was even a small thought that this was going to have us jump around the overworld and just give us an excuse to go back to the Mojave. But that would break the system, really, of always having DLC. This is weird to have actual junk hiding your things you can collect. I always thought that these power boxes might mean something or be interactable at some point. But yeah. So unless I was supposed to have reverence for animals and not kill them, maybe this is because I'm at level 5. Maybe there would have been golden geckos in this at level 50. Which just means that your experience is going to wildly vary based on what level you're on.
The spitter plants and the green monster men aren't native to Zion. Wonder where they came from.
All of those items are
For as
craftable
long as
if I can craft.
the dead horses have thought that places of the old
And here our guy is really quiet because
doesn't look so spooky to me.
of the helmet he's wearing. We're just looking for old world technology, which I just don't think there's gonna be any of that. Now I suspect that the balls in this game only add up to the number 38 because there is an Easter egg in the Lucky 38 casino where the cue balls form an arrow pointing to a poster of the Lucky 38, and the numbers on the balls add up to 38. I suppose there is also a thought that maybe these locks would be different difficulties based on your skill, your level, but I don't believe that is the case. I think it actually is hard-coded. But yeah, a more modern game would probably not hard-code the difficulty on the lockpicking. So whatever we just picked up there was what we were looking for. What did we just pick up, I wonder, as far as quests goes? It would have to, I guess, be a miscellaneous item. And yeah, there's, unless it was a walkie-talkie, which that might be it. Yeah, search the gone fishing lodges for walkie-talkies. And the other one, we're looking for medical supply kits. So I couldn't have taken Eddie with me into this DLC. I'm pretty sure I couldn't have. So he's going to become a question as far as where can I find a crafting bit. B. You found the key. You found the key to the locked cabinet. Interesting, you got a whole pop-up there. The game has never done that before. It's probably would have been better if it did do that more often. Yeah, the more I do, the more it really does just feel like a completely different type of experience. I would walk over there, but being over encumbered. Let's just go out the door. Came in. And then let's see if we can figure out.
Let's get to trading.
Can we get my weight down just enough so that I can then just fast travel? Right, we're down. Down enough so we can just fast travel. Let's see. Go ahead and remove that one. The problem here is that there's really not a great location. I could go to the Angel Cave and I could do crafting all throughout all of that.
What did you call them? Walkie-talkies? Those are going to be loads better than signal drums and smoke signs.
Okay. So again, I just don't want to.
Let's get to trading.
I don't want to waste a lot of time here. So this is basically just going to come down to dumping everything and trying to sort it out later. Probably should just learn my lesson and not pick up as much stuff, because this definitely doesn't feel like a crafting focused DLC. If anything, it feels like they're trying to counter the heavy crafting focus that Old World Blues had. Of course, I took a lot. So that was a 10, a 2, a 13, which would be 25, and then a 5 and an 8 ball, which would be 13, plus 25, which would be 38, exactly. None of the other balls are in the game, from the looks of it. Which I imagine would upset some OCD people running around the entire world trying to find a one ball, for instance. Yeah, clearly I picked up a lot of junk items I shouldn't have. Most of these glasses and things would just turn into purified water. But it is also worth pointing out that what I'm doing is not wrong. I still need currency for the Gunrunner's Arsenal DLC to buy ever expensive mods or ever expensive guns. Alright, we're back to 52 at this point. And there's a thought here that we could just walk to this location and see if we could, where we could go, so let's do that. If anything, that'll just show us how these kinds of systems of fast travel can break a game. Lots of games don't have fast travel for these very reasons. Right. Oh no. Oh no, oh no. I should have saved.
Those, what did you call them? Walkie-talkies? Those are going to be loads better than signal drums and smoke signs.
So now I have all of this stuff on me. And I guess instead of going one place, let's go another. So you may take the walkie-talkies. I don't know, I don't think I really need to put the gun away. Looks like cave fungus respawns whenever you enter the area. So the thought here, you have a bunch of lunch boxes, but only enough to make one bottle cap mine. And in crafting one thing, we may be not crafting another. It definitely feels like that is the case with some of these microfusion cells. There's just a lot of stuff here, much of which is superseded by other things. So yeah. So we now have, from junk, the ability to break down bullets. So I guess the question then would become, if we were to make, say, 388 rounds with junk, then we broke down 388 rounds, we could then make the JSP hand-loaded. So there's a conversion here Definitely. And I think it probably would just make the most sense to do that. And then 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 do that. Of course, 308, very possibly the wrong weapons. And that gets rid of the junk as far as the tin cans. The question to double check here though is scrap metal, scrap metal, scrap metal, and tin cans. So I don't think this is doing anything else with any of the other items. Where all my weapons go?
Well then, let's get to trading.
We don't have a shop, though. Yeah, and I think that's probably where this game is really differentiating itself, is that there is no shop. I guess the question is there even a campfire to cook at in this area, or would I have to carry the items somewhere else? And the guy's gone. Didn't know he would leave this spot. So unless our companion has an ability I've totally not paid attention to, or we're going to unlock an ability, it seems like the game really would like you to avoid all of this nonsense that I'm doing now, just playing menu hero, picking up items. But then why introduce a whole new item in the Sacred Takura route? Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense at all. Why have the player run into all of this? Bent tin cans, still absolutely useless. So I at least can learn to not pick up bent tin cans. Good news is when we walk out of this area, we should automatically save. So I do have a little bit of hope, just a tiny bit of hope that guess I don't need this many. These get our weight down even more. Sorry, to finish my statement, I have a tiny bit of hope that I guess I'm gonna just collect Datura root. Or Datura root, whatever. Alright, third time's a charm. I have a small bit of hope that in leveling up and taking some more perks, I will get enough perks, or there are enough perks in the game that would lead to turning all of the equipment into being something useful. I also think I just want to go ahead and search all of these areas. Yeah. We'll just go this way though. Yeah. We'll go up here, maybe hit this one, but yeah. These guys move too fast. Notice that there's auto tracking. This is a dead horse warrior. Yeah.
Feels good to be doing some actual scouting, not just following.
In the main game, there was a lot of walking on the path, and if all of this food items were actually just weightless, I would love to be picking them up. I still really have no reason not to pick them up. It's either gonna be you walk around picking up items, or you walk around purposely avoiding items and doing nothing else. There is something to be said about the size of this map, in that it wouldn't be too crazy if you were over encumbered like way up here. It'd be too crazy to potentially walk all the way here. It'd still probably take an hour or two to do it in real world time. And as long as you have fast travel locations with any kind of storage ability, it would make a lot more sense to just drop something off in a box and then fast travel back and forth multiple times, which is going to take way less time. I could see games like this get rid of the fast travel. Alright, well, I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. We will make a safety save. Then we will push against the wall. Mole rat pup, mantis nymph, bighorner, cattle, white legs, pain maker. This is crazy how you can just enter an area and clear it out completely.
Must have been nice when Zion was friendly enough folks could make camp wherever they pleased and not worry about white legs and deadly critters.
Nothing there. I think if I was going to, since Fallout does have some silly sci-fi elements to it, having bullets that collect loot for you would be a nice thought. If you shoot somebody from a distance, you collect all their loot and it just teleports to you. Of course, minigames do that without really explaining it. They simply just have you get a +1 gold every time you kill something. A plus score if it's just a score game.
Fighting time.
That wasn't what he was shooting at. He's shooting at something like a rad scorpion over here. There definitely could be a misbalance when I reset myself to level 1, in that I could be getting just 1 XP for every kill. And that would have been fair enough, but it also would have really ruined the experience I'm creating here. Okay. Should we go to the caterpillar's mound? Sure, let's go see what is there. Definitely does just feel like we're gonna run through this whole area. And unless something weird happened where there was just a lot more encounters after you finish the main story, I just don't see why you would come back to this area, even as a hunting ground. Caterpillar's Mound just has
So I finally get to explore all those taboo places without the
some
other
of those
scouts yelling at me.
Xanders.
Can't wait.
It definitely looks like there could be more things that just aren't fast travel things. And maybe we will just have quests take us that way. So it's possible that I'm really just marking fast travel locations now, but there's going to be something more. Although I don't suspect it's just going to be like a war scenario. I don't think that would work particularly well in this layout.
Whoa! Here we go!
It is definitely the case that misfortune should be picked after you already have. I think he's stuck in the wall now. I don't think that there's a single part of him I can hit. Oh, well, I got lucky there. But I may not be able to search his body now. Yeah, Misfortune's ability to knock down people, nowhere as helpful as the Mysterious Stranger's ability to actually kill people. Misfortune does very small amounts of damage. And it doesn't feel like it scales to your level or your amount of damage. A lot of this, obviously, is just reskinning things, though. Creating a hollow log instead of a footlocker, because footlockers don't make sense. Giving you a... So that's where we're supposed to have been. Giving you a bunch of plants to make food.
Fighting time.
You do certainly question I guess that is a thought. Maybe my companion here killed a bunch of insects. Ants. That would explain some stuff. And I did want to talk to this guy.
What can I tell you? Go with fortune, friend.
So yeah, he doesn't have any special skill. So is it smarter to maintain momentum? I'm trying to go downward. I suppose there is a question about maybe the mysterious stranger showing up the weaker the enemies are. No way to really search for bodies. And I've missed a lot of things. The verticality here is even better than in Lonesome Road, in that you are effectively creating reasons why a player would have to go to the same place two or three times, because they have to approach some of the taller sections from a higher point. Again, we will see if this cave leads to anything. You can almost breadcrumb it. Here we have some spore carriers, but the hare just runs. And spore plants. I guess the question to ask though is, does it make a better experience if I was fighting the equivalent of level 50 enemies? I don't think it does, really. I think it makes a lot more sense for the game to just say, you're overpowered now, you're at level 50, all the enemies should be weaker, and you should just continuously get stronger. Everything should one-shot, die in one shot, and you should be able to use weaker bullets or less bullets. Yeah, all the challenge of the game really should be gone by the time you're at the max level, if you're going to have a max level. Otherwise, you could just scale the game up and just continuously scale the game up. I found it fairly irritating Um, apparently these ones have to all open their mouths. We can just go in circles here. I found it fairly irritating in Borderlands 1 when you hit the max level 2. But I think they did a better job of it in Borderlands 1 because I think they actually did just have new game pluses. Well, these guys are kind of heavy hitters. They've knocked my guy out. I don't have any stim packs hotkeyed. Definitely feels like these spitter plants could play a big role in the overworld.
Okay, I'm up. What's next?
If everywhere you went that was off the path, a spitter plant started to spit at you. And yes, I know they're technically transport plants. Okay, that looks like that's a way up. I'm gonna have to rely on my larger map. I mean, my local map. To make sure I'm not missing something or going in circles. There is obviously a higher that's an interesting experiment there too, where just turning around the corner with the spitter plants introduces this new danger that you won't have with any of the other characters, because the other characters will just pathfind and attack you. So we have all of the other quests. So the perks we should probably take here would be Fortune Finder, which arguably, if you're going to do the Gunrunner's Arsenal and just try to have every single gun and not pick specific guns that are actually useful to purchase, this should have been taken much earlier. Then I guess the question would be, are any of these others super useful? Toughness might be useful if you were playing on higher difficulties, and particularly if you're playing in hardcore mode. I do question, certainly though, if you can play hardcore mode on a high difficulty.
Wounds butchered everyone in New Canaan and nailed their corpses to the cliffs.
Like, our character companion character here talks too much, too often for as little as variety as he has to say. Yeah. It almost feels like these are resetting and growing very fast. I can't really reach that. What do they mean by significant amount of caps will be the question, certainly. We at most have found an occasional pile of 6 caps, 12 caps, unless it is a very unique situation in which you're more storyline wise robbing a safe, and then you might find 200 caps. Most of this game is broken by the idea of collecting even a few hundred caps, let alone a few thousand. Gunrunner's arsenal obviously was added after the fact as a way of keeping the game interesting after everything else had been done, but just increasing the usefulness of the currency system. But yeah, I need a shopkeeper desperately, and I question whether there is even a single shopkeeper in this whole world. Maybe we'll move the main story forward. And then we'll have a shopkeeper. We can do a little bit of cooking there. The question is, would there ever be a logical reason to come back to this cave just to reach this crafting bench? Kinda don't think.
Get to explore all those taboo places without the other scouts yelling at me. Can't wait.
Bobby pins, totally unnecessary. Use another survival cache. We know there's 4 more of those. Yeah, I could feel in this DLC game testers saying, oh, I'm really engaging with the crafting bench a lot more, just because it's giving you so much stuff and you frankly just aren't doing much of everything else. But this once again is, I think, ignoring the over encumberdness issue. I have just a weird computer here. So what I'm guessing here is that these survival caches might be all from the same person. And that we might be getting a B story here if we were actually reading all of this. Of course, I'm not actually reading any of this. So I'm not getting the narrative and don't really care about the narrative if you're going to tell me the story in that fashion. I would prefer just audio logs instead. I think most players would prefer audio logs instead. Something that you play in particular while I'm walking around. So there's a whole door here. So is this going to lead to something like a vault? Or is it just going to lead outside? I think it's probably just going to lead outside. Well, they certainly got me with that one. And I think this is all just wrapping around. Just chose to go this way, I think, the first time, and I think this is the way out. So that's an example of where a key to that door might have been better than just being able to lockpick the door. It's rained far too often. Definitely trying to separate, I guess, this from being a desert, like the Mojave, and justify more of the plant life we see. We're talking about the dinosaur statue, I would assume. And I don't hear any other scorpions, so I'd assume that's the two of them. And despite him having different armor on, he is still just killing them with his hand weapon. And it's still either a situation where you take nothing, or you just over encumber yourself, taking everything. I wonder if there was a way in Fallout 3 to convert coffee cups and clipboards into useful crafting items. There certainly was a lot of them around. Yeah, one mod I might do to something like this, here you have like 3 teddy bears and hats, would be to just change the 3D model of the bobby pins, make them instead larger lockpick kits. Probably something in the shape of a key, that way you know just by looking what it's for, instead of being realistic. Of course, in Skyrim it's even less realistic that locks would really exist at all to have lockpicking. I'd say the lockpicking minigame is weirdly not logical in either Fallout games or Elder Scrolls Skyrim games. Which, by the way, you may have noticed I call it Elder Scrolls Skyrim because, frankly, very few people off the top of their head would recognize the Elder Scrolls series as much as they would recognize Skyrim or Morrowind. Medical supply kit is mostly intact, but several of the stale bandages have been broken open and disinfected bottles is leaking. You can try to salvage what's there, or you can find replacements for the contaminated. Alternately, so medicine requires let's just sterilize the kit with alcohol. Nope, that's not it. Think salvage. Place with. Alright. By finding replacements for the contaminated components of the kit, you can get it up to working order much more easily. This requires 1 duct tape and 1 turpentine. Almost certainly I have that. And then the medical kit was added. Okay. It does feel very different, though, certainly, to walk up to what looked like just a doctor's kit and be required to do something more.
That compass thing always knows where north is, huh?
The fact that this game is always kind of doing the same old, and just following tight rules and systems. Whenever it breaks out of those tight rules or systems, it feels a little off-putting. Let's see. I guess the question here we should ask is, can I repair anything? Spiked knuckles with spiked knuckles. And then leather armor reinforced. That's worth a lot. Old cowboy hat. Probably not worth as much as a rawhide cowboy hat is. Okay, that's gonna help just a little bit.
Well then, let's get to trading.
Not really enough. A lot of explosives and dynamite that it feels like they want you to engage with. I'm gonna keep the doctor's bag. Yeah, no, I'm not even gonna really bother with the miscellaneous here. So we've got a spot here I'd like to check. Spot here I'd like to check. Definitely a lot more other locations I'd like to check. So let's go up this way first. We can turn on the flashlight for what little that will help us. I feel like what really could be fixed here is if doing this DLC, which seems like it's short, seems like it's scaled nicely for a new player. If you just ran to do this DLC fairly early in the game, which still probably would be 40-50 hours into the gameplay, but if it gave you the ability to just cook, not even craft and reload, just cook anywhere, that would fix a lot of issues. On the other hand, if I guess green geckos spit acid and regular geckos breathe fire. I guess maybe that's the thought. Yeah, I really don't know how you would play hardcore mode on this. 111 bobby pins. Got plenty. A lot of times it seems like it gets easier on the third break anyways. It might actually be getting easier. Yep. I don't know why you would have a jail cell door there, but whatever. Again, this would be a spot where you might spot more locations of. Yeah, I crouch down more to pick up items.
What did you call them? Walkie-talkies? Those are going to be loads better than signal drums and smoke signs.
Yep. So yeah. Interesting how you have these kind of dotted lines dividing out a section here. They should have taken away the Explorer perk. That would have been the easiest thing to do, is just not let the player have that. Because I really am breaking what I expect they wanted you to experience, which is to have the world not be visible. I'm not sure if the world would have been in a fog. It probably wouldn't have been in a fog, like the local maps are, where it's just nothing around you in areas you haven't searched. Such a bad decision to have actual items strewn about with non-items. It's kind of a bad decision to not just have them all be closed dumpsters that you can treat like boxes. Just the occasional enemy popping up here and there, which that's what I really expected from the main game. It's interesting these roll but are not interactable. Can't open them.
Fighting time.
And we'll just empty. now found the key. Darn it. We didn't want to find the key because here's the Nuka-Cola toy trucks, which I don't think you actually see them in the game. They're fairly big. So this is supposed to be a general store, then why is it so full of toys? I guess maybe that's just the toy section. This definitely feels like this is the space to go to if you were playing on hardcore mode. And I do heavily question whether you could play as a good guy while playing hardcore mode, or if you wouldn't inherently be forced to steal. There's a Nuka-Cola flag. There's something behind this door. Just gonna let him go kill it.
So I finally get to explore all those taboo places without the other scouts yelling at me? Can't wait.
It's just way too much. I wish these vending machines had more use to them. It is silly that they take up that much space and do such little. We've now found the snow globe for this DLC, which I do believe I found the snow globe for the Lonesome Road DLC too, but I didn't actually go to the Lucky 38 to look at it. Over encumbered and getting blocked by the companion. When you search these enemies, they might as well disappear as much when you empty their inventory as much as other items on shelves like this disappear when you pick them up. There's a whole bunch of extra stuff I could have missed there. Looks like there is maybe something up here, but I think I'd probably have to jump to pick it up. And in that, I don't know what I picked up. It didn't seem like it was too important. Maybe it was a password for the computer. There's gonna obviously be very little hacking in this game. Alter. So fiber is a bad one to guess. Flash is a good one to guess. 18 XP for hacking that. Yeah, and at a certain point, if I had done a lot worse of a job yeah, here's the bus tour backstory. If I'd done a lot worse of a job hacking or lockpicking, taking the perks where you could re-hack and redo the lockpicking might be an interesting perk to take, but since I only messed up on a couple of lockpicks and one hack in the entire game, it would be a wasteful perk. The little scout lunchbox is different than just your regular lunchboxes. Interesting. Not sure. Search the Zion General Store for 5 Little Scout lunchboxes. Okay.
Those, what did you call them? Walkie-talkies? Those are going to be loads better than signal drums and smoke signs.
And I doubt they are hiding them in really difficult to find places. That wouldn't quite make sense. So I've probably just overlooked one somewhere. I seriously doubt that they would have had you move things. Let's look up because we're not seeing anything down low. Nothing behind the door. Okay. Let's check our inventory. We do have 4 Little Scout lunchboxes. We're looking for 5 of them. They are quest items. Let's check and see if maybe one of these is mentioned in the shipping error. Okay, everything is saying it is in here. So there's like one extremely well hidden Little Scout lunchbox. We'll start looking behind things. There's definitely a danger that it fell through the floor. How did I even pick up 4 of them? Looks like it's there. Yeah. Apparently I picked up 3 Little Scout lunchboxes and paid them no attention at all.
Like
It's not there.
Ghost. Way I heard it, salt upon wounds butchered everyone in New Canaan and nailed their corpses to the cliffs.
Yeah. Where would it have been in the first place? Ah, here it is. Walked past it multiple times. And that's the tourist trap quest completed. Now we have the Deliverer of Sorrows quest. bring your supplies you've gathered to Daniel in the Narrows. Interesting. Is that really the quest we're supposed to do? Okay.
Well then, let's get to trading.
The
I
problem
look
here
like a pack Brahmin to you? Come on, we travel light.
is we're gonna be over encumbered. And I think the easiest way to probably adjust for that is to just walk out of this area, over encumbered, and find a container to drop the rest of the stuff in. Which, unfortunately, I do believe in these areas is going to be more difficult, because it is just going to be walking all around to the back area and dropping it into the one dumpster that is a container. And yeah, there's not really a good reason to do any of that on screen, so we should just stop here and wrap up. So there's a big section here that we haven't investigated and seen anything. There's that. We didn't see this bridge. We didn't get to this spot. We didn't get into the corners of this spot over here. We didn't get into that. But that is kind of it. So if there was a point where the game just warned me and said, don't, this will end the DLC, which would probably mean we really are getting only 5 hours or so of content, if that was the case. I could see certainly running around and doing some other stuff. It does definitely feel like a broken concept as far as, let's just use a doctor bag. That'll move us forward on a quest. And sure, these are out of the way, we've got so many of them. A lot of these, like animal control and bug stompers, we got through killing people, bugs, and I don't think the Wild Wasteland is really doing anything. I definitely just also question whether there's a full gameplay experience in this DLC, unless some of this other part of the map is going to be revealed, which it probably isn't. This is just a small area to run around in a small loop, and that's kind of it. Without any store to sell things, the idea of crafting items that you aren't going to use is pointless, and the idea of collecting all this stuff becomes mostly pointless at that point. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and keep on watching. Thanks.